I'll be here this minute.
All right, we're good now.
Already?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great, great. So welcome to all of you on Zoom. Thank you for coming. And I'm gonna just go Hollis, Martha, and Alyson, and we're gonna give them each like 10, 12 minutes or so. And Pat, I have a request. Would you take a few pictures during the, take a few pictures?
Oh, sure.
Not like, during the meeting, so that we can use them for our newsletter.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry the captions aren't larger, but I hope you can see them. Has anybody tried the loop?
I find it now.
You want it now? Good. Kevin,
What do you do?
is it working well?
Is working well.
Oh, great.
I have a loop, but I don't know what to do.
One thing about cochlear implants, I believe it's
You have
true
this?
that all of them have a teleclip.
You know, I don't know.
So not all hearing aids do, but all,
I'm not a pro, but I know I have the loop, yeah. But I
So
know the
leave it
connection to actually change the code to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this controls that. I don't know.
Larry.
Did I ask you a question what the loop is?
Loop is a system that allows people to tap in and it acts like a microphone so that people can hear who's speaking in a room. So it's an extra aid for someone with hearing loss that you can tap into with a hearing aid or a cochlear implant or another assistive.
So
thing.
some hearing aids actually have that capability?
Loop's been around for quite a while. It's more, does every building have a loop? So not every building is equipped with one.
All right, I think I got everything working properly. Thank you, Larry, for the introduction. Thank you all for having me here today. Like you mentioned, my name is Hollis Elmore, and I am one of the clinical account managers with MED-EL. And so today, I'm going to give you a general overview of our company and some of the things that set us apart. I've got some great literature for you all, so I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards and answer any specific questions you have and get you connected. All right. So MED-EL was founded in 1989, and our international headquarters is in Innsbruck, Austria, and our North American headquarters is in Durham, North Carolina, which is where I reside. Quick drive up here today, so not bad at all. So our mission is to overcome hearing loss as a barrier to communication, and we're going to do that with our intact skin solution. So we have both a cochlear implant and a bone conduction device. So we are a privately held company. Our CEO, Ingberg Hockmeyer, she is phenomenal. So she is an engineer. Her and her husband actually worked to create the first multi-channel array that's pictured there in 1977. We've gone on to have a lot of other firsts. So we were the first to have an off-the-ear processor. We were the first with our 3.0 Tesla MRI capability. We were also the first to get approval for single-sided deafness and asymmetric hearing loss. And we're also still the only company that has FDA approval for both of those. And so I'm very proud of all that our company does and how innovative we have been. And we've got some even more exciting innovations that I'm going to talk about as we go. So like I mentioned, we are a cochlear implant and bone conduction company. So listed here, you'll see our implants. That's going to be our synchrony system. We have an electric acoustic system. So those are for patients that have that normal low frequency hearing, but then have that significant decline in hearing. And then we have our bone conduction devices. And so that is for patients who have an issue with the middle ear, maybe the bones of the middle ear, and that's to bypass and send sound straight to the cochlea. And then our ad here is our non-surgical bone conduction option. It's like a little sticker that the processor attaches right to. But today I know you all are interested in the cochlear implants, so that's what I'll talk a little bit more about. All right. So I like to think about it as kind of a house with the implant. So the framework is really going to be our internal device. And that's going to be what's in the cochlea, what is being stimulated for that sound. I think that is what really sets MED-EL apart and what I'll focus on. Then building up, we have our processors. So that's going to be what's on the outside of the ear that you see. And then we have all of the accessories. So all of the streaming devices with your phone, all the extra bells and whistles. But really what's going to be most important is what is actually inside the ear in that cochlea. I love this graphic. I would have loved to have had this as like a big picture on my wall when I was in the clinic, but I think it's cool because these are all normal cochleas, but it shows that there are no two cochlea are the same. And so because of that, MED-EL is really focused on an individualized approach to your implant. We know that no two cochlea are the same, so your electrode should also not be the same. It's not a one size fits all. At MED-EL, we have 5 different electrode links. And this is important because we want to get the electrode that's going to fit your cochlea the best. And it's going to provide as close to natural hearing as possible. And I mentioned some of those new innovations we have. One of them that you might start to hear about in the clinics or as you talk with me is about Otaplan. So this is a way that we are able to take your CT scan and measure the length of your cochlea and tell you which electrode is going to fit best. And that's very important because we want to provide that complete cochlear coverage. So again, with our longer electrode arrays, we're able to get into that apical region where those low frequency sounds are to give you that better speech understanding, sound quality, and that closer to natural hearing. All right, so that's our internal device. I could talk all on about it, and so I'm happy to answer specific questions at the end. But now I'll move on up the pyramid. And so looking at our external devices. So with our processors, we have our Sonnet 2, that's going to be that behind the ear processor. And then we also have the Rondo 3. This one's my personal favorite because it's so easy to use. So the Rondo 3 is still the newest off-the-ear processor that's on the market. Both of these are going to have 2 microphones, so you're going to get noise management, wind noise reduction, all those kind of annoying things. It works together. So both either on the ear or off are going to be really great solutions for you.
When you say off the ear, what do you mean by that?
Yep, so it is going to attach to that magnet and sit right up here. I have it, I can show it to you. Yeah, great. We've got a model right there in the audience to show.
There's nothing in my ear or over my ear.
Okay.
Yeah. I know during COVID, we had so much behind the ear, glasses and masks and hearing aids. And,
Yeah.
ooh, it was a lot. So the off the ear can be a nice option for people. All right. And then all those accessories that I mentioned. So we have devices that you can stream phone calls to your processor. We have remote controls. We have apps on the cell phone because there's an app for everything now. And we also have our audio link. That's our 4-in-1 streamer that's going to stream phone calls, music. It's going to work as a little TV streamer and a remote mic, which is nice. Someone else can be wearing it and their voice is picked up and sent directly to the processor.
I don't want to dominate the meeting here, but most of these accessories, all right, if you're on Medicare with an Advantage plan, let's say, with Medicare, is it most Advantage plans pay for
So
these
when you,
devices?
with MED-EL, these accessories are going to be included. So you get to select what's going to work best for you. So you're going to automatically get the audio stream. Most patients select audio link. So it's all covered. You're not having to pick and choose and pay for other things. Yes, good question. Thank you for asking them. I don't want to just talk at you all. All right. And I know this is a very big decision. So we have a lot of support for you as you're starting the journey and then after. So we have specific reps that are focused on just talking with candidates, answering any questions that you have, setting up virtual Zoom calls, phone calls, whatever works best for you. We also are happy to connect you with other recipients in the area that have Med-El, so they can share their experience, what they have been through. We have 24/7 support with our customer service team and our in-house audiology. And then we also offer, after you are activated, we have Med-El Mondays, fun little alliteration, where we have weekly Zoom calls where you can learn about each of your accessories and how to work them. And if that doesn't fit your schedule, we also offer one-on-one calls as well. We have audiologists in both ends of the country, so we've got the whole day covered. They just do one-on-one support all day long. All right, and I just love this graphic here, just showing that cochlea like a keys on the piano and covering with our electrodes. So we've got you covered, and any questions you have, I'm happy to answer them and talk a little more with you. Thank y'all.
Why don't we move on to Martha and then to Alyson, and then throw questions at all of them when we finish?
Yep, perfect.
If we can remember.
All right. Before I get started, I want to, first of all, just say thank you all for having all of us. I know everyone up here would agree with me that when it comes to the decision to pursue a cochlear implant, being educated and being able to advocate for yourself is first and foremost the most important thing you can do. So please ask us questions as you get to learn companies. That's important, but it's also important though that you feel that you have a good understanding of what your hearing loss is and how to have conversations with your medical professionals. And if you don't feel like you have that knowledge set, please reach out to us. We are happy to help you. This is something that's very unique. You really are in the driver's seat and advocating for yourself throughout this entire process. At Cochlear, we always start with our mission, so I wanted to share it with you all today. We help people hear and be heard. We empower people to connect with others and live a full life. We transform the way people understand and treat hearing loss. And we innovate and bring to market a range of implantable hearing solutions that deliver a lifetime of outcomes. My name is Martha Schley Smith. I am the local engagement manager. I live here in Richmond. This is my contact information. Please take note. I'll be here later too to answer questions. But really, I am a partner for you throughout this entire process, answering questions, connecting you with others, and here to kind of see you all the way through. A little bit about Cochlear. Cochlear was founded by Dr. Graham Clark, who is an Australian ENT. When Dr. Graham Clark was young, he once told a teacher, "When I grow up, I want to fix ears." And that is exactly what he ended up doing. So Cochlear came to market. We've been producing cochlear implants and helping people hear for over 40 years now. To give you an idea of our company, we have over 700,000 implant recipients worldwide. We were the first multi-channel cochlear implant. We have 6 different manufacturing sites worldwide. We have over 100 research collaborations happening. We put over $200 million every year into research and development, which when we're talking about a permanent lifetime hearing solution is incredibly important, right? It's the technology we have today, but it's also the technology we have 5, 10, 20 years from now, and how you're going to be able to benefit from it. So I want to take a moment, and really focus today on what's new with Cochlear, right? What are the latest innovations and what are we really excited about being able to offer to our recipients? We have two different implantable solutions that we focus with at Cochlear. So we have our bone conduction portfolio. You may have heard of Baha or Ossia. So that's really treating those middle ear conditions, conductive hearing losses. Obviously today we're focused on cochlear implants. So you see our cochlear implant portfolio listed. There are two different types of processors, and then we have a couple of different styles of electrode arrays. So within the implant, that end design that goes into the cochlea. What you see here on the screen is kind of a snapshot of innovation from Cochlear over the past 40 years. You know, I always marvel at how far we've come. We started off with boxes that you would literally wear in a harness around your neck. And now we have off the ear processors as well as the world's smallest behind the ear processor. Our internals have continued to change and advance, and yet even with those advancements, people that received our implants decades ago are able to take advantage of today's technology without needing another surgery. That is part, again, of that lifetime commitment when we start thinking, what does this mean for you in the long term? So many people may be familiar with the Kanso 2. It is off the ear. Pat was modeling it for us just a moment ago. And the Kanso 2 and the Nucleus 8, which I'm going to touch on in a second, they both have the same technology in terms of we're able to stream directly. So there's no need to add a component or to adjust your processor. If you want to take a phone call straight from your phone, it can come straight to your processor, your iPad. So there's a lot of wonderful compatibility and connectivity that these have. Larry was talking about they all have telecoil access, which is great. Also, your Kanso 2 and Nucleus 8 processor, you can control them from your app, from your iWatch. They have, excuse me, they even have features such as Find My Processor, because life happens, right? I lost my keys this morning. Would have been nice to have that. So there are a lot of controls at your fingertips. Thank you. So that you can interact with your processor how you choose to. If you're like, I don't do cell phones, Martha, that's fine. There's a remote or there's a button and you can actually change from the processor itself on the Nucleus 8. When it comes to water wear, we all know the golden rule, hearing aids and water don't mix, run away, right? It's not the same thing with the implant processor. So with the Kanso or the Nucleus 8, you're covered with IP68, which is the closest you can get to being fully waterproof. So if it falls in the pool, if you get splashed, if you're out golfing and it rains, we're not concerned. That's okay. But if you want to do activities like swim laps or go scuba diving, do it. We have an aqua kit that is just a sleeve you slide onto the processor. I can show it you later. And that makes it completely waterproof. In other words, we want y'all to go live your lives. Do what you enjoy. Your hearing should be the least of your concerns at that point. I want to touch on the Nucleus 8. This is the brand new processor from Cochlear. It is the smallest and lightest behind the ear solution. It has more connectivity options, which I'll go to in just a second. So we have the ones I've already talked about, but this is also introducing Bluetooth LE audio. It has smarter hearing performance. So when we talk about living your day-to-day and not really having to worry about your processor, I'm going to show you what I mean by that in just a moment. It also has a new shape and a new color with it that came along. So just to give you an idea, when we say smaller, we already had the world's smallest behind the ear processor, and it just got 15% smaller and 13% lighter. So it truly is the smallest and lightest option there is. It also features a new version of our scan technology. So what is scan? Scan is the ability for the processor to automatically adapt to the environment you're in. Right now, we're in a fairly quiet room. There's not a lot of background noise.
But if we all went to lunch after this, we kind of know how that story goes, right? It becomes a really loud environment. It can be very difficult to listen in. Scan is made to automatically adapt and adjust to ensure that you are hearing your best no matter what environment you're in. So Scan 2 is the newest version of Scan, and even over that original scene classifying, we are seeing an 8% improvement in the ability to classify sound, as well as an 11% improvement in classifying all sound environments. So one of my favorite things is I have people that have been wearing the Nucleus 7 and they've upgraded to the Nucleus 8. And the first thing they tell me is, oh, wow, I can totally hear the difference, right? Again, we're not just creating technology for today. We have to think about what the future looks like. There's also something called forward focus. So forward focus is the ability of the processor to adapt its microphone and concentrate on what's happening in front of you. So if I'm in a group, there's 30 people behind me having those side conversations, and I'm really trying to focus on the conversation happening in front of me. Forward focus allows my processor to adapt those microphones. And what we're actually seeing is a 5 decibel gain in speech understanding in noise when using that. So these are the things that are built in to help you that you don't even have to remember to turn on. It's automatic with the Nucleus 8. There are lots of battery and charging options. You can get through your entire day with that. I do want to touch a little bit on connectivity and how we're pushing the bounds and expanding connectivity. I mentioned that the Nucleus 8 has the next generation Bluetooth LE audio. Are y'all familiar with this at all? Okay, so some of the benefits from LE audio are that it allows direct streaming from an audio source. It actually is going to allow multiple stream points from a source. So right now, if I try to connect my AirPods to my phone, I can listen through that, but no one else can join me in that. So that's one of the platform innovations that's coming out of Bluetooth LE audio, is that split share streaming. I want you to think of the ability to walk into an airport and connect to your gate agent, so that when they're making announcements from their gate, it's coming directly to you. That is Bluetooth Auracast, which is also part of this platform. And obviously the advantage of having these new Bluetooth platforms is it's got better sound quality than Bluetooth Classic. For us, we're also very excited. We're the first company to be able to offer this within the Cochlear implant solutions. But it's also increased our access to remote care. And I'm going to touch on remote care in just a moment. So this gives you an idea of how those connections would be accessed. One thing I do want to share is when we talk about a permanent hearing solution for life, reliability is a big part of that, right? I can give you all the bells and whistles in the world, and it doesn't mean anything if what we've put into our bodies is not made to last. So we have been the leader in implant reliability for over 40 years. It is very easy to access all of our reporting. We were the first manufacturer to report to both the European consensus and be in full compliance with the ANSI/AAMI standard. All of those reports you can find right on our website. We also publish them in print, so if you'd ever like to go through them, it actually reports on every generation of implant we've ever brought to market. To give you an idea of what kind of reliability, our Profile Plus series, which is what we have now, has a 99.91% reliability within 3 years. That was built off of the Profile series, which at 8 years is 99.72. All right, our sound processors also have high reliability. So the outside piece, you see a 0.1 failure rate for the Canzo 2. The Nucleus 8's been out for about a year. It's hanging at 0, but to give you a fair comparison, here's the Nucleus 7, which has been out for years. at 0.6. So highly, highly reliable devices. Was that my timer, Larry? I'll be very quick. I've got 2 more slides. All right. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. When we start talking about, okay, what does the future and even the present right now look like for an implant recipient? There are some really awesome things that we're very excited about, and one of them being remote care. So Cochlear actually has, we call it remote assist, as well as remote programming available. And what this means is through remote care, your audiologist can actually access and you can get the care you need without having to visit a clinic. It's all done through your smartphone. So your audiologist can actually send out a test to your phone. You complete it in your own time at home, and they're able to look at those results and say, hey, no, everything looks great, keep going, or you know what, why don't you come in? Maybe there's some tweaking we can do. This is all about access at the end of the day and expanding that access. I also want to touch on some of the things that you would never see. It's for your surgeon. We have a system called SmartNav, and SmartNav is an interoperative system. It allows us and it allows a surgeon to actually monitor not only the placement of your electrode in your cochlea while you're in the OR, but it's actually able to then verify that all the electrodes are working and everything looks great before you ever leave. So these are the types of innovations where in the old days, we'd have to wait, right? We'd have to wait till activation day and go, okay, is everything good? We can now tell before you ever leave the operating room. I would love to continue talking with you about some of our services that we have. I have more members of my team designed to help along the way. I'll be in the back, but I do want to be cognizant of our time. So thank you all for letting me share with you today.
Share this thing.
I have not shared with you.
Do I need to do anything on
I don't think so.
that? Okay.
Let's see. Screen. There we go. See that? Just a one.
A little bit of a delay, I think, maybe. No, okay, hold on. Larry, I'm kind of like you. Okay. New share. New share this one. Okay, now we got the right screen. Let's get that full screen for us. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, geez, that's okay. Back up there. Well, that's all right. That'll be the first slide. All right. So thanks for letting me come. I really love being able to see you guys together and that you guys have such camaraderie and support. And, you know, like Hollis and Martha have already talked about, you know, cochlear implants are an amazing thing. And I think for all of us, no matter where you're at in your journey, what device you get, we really want you to hear better. Like that's why we became audiologists and speech pathologists and came to this field, is we want you to hear better. And, you know, I was in, for a long time. I'm probably the old one of the group, of the three of us, but I've seen a lot and I've worked with a lot, and it's just so rewarding to see people's lives change. I worked a lot with kids, and to see them, you know, I had some that would hide behind their mom's leg and now they've graduated college. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did the time go? Right. So I guess the biggest thing, I mean, all three companies are great, and all three companies are going to help you hear better. So I think for me, what I wanted to share with you is what I think is great about Advanced Bionics. And so the first one I'm going to share about is my teammate, Krista Hebner. I know Larry already introduced you, but really Krista is the one who meets with most of the candidates and recipients. As Larry noted, I mostly get to be with audiologists and surgeons, so I'm helping the providers that are helping you. She does a lot to help you guys specifically. And our team, like I've never met more caring person. Our team, we've got lots of experience, and I love that I can work with a group of people that are so full of integrity. So that's one thing that I love about Advanced Bionics. The second thing that I really love is that we are an American-made company. Our headquarters are in Valencia, California. So in Southern California, if you ever get there, you can visit our headquarters and actually see how the devices are made. You can take a tour. And if you have an AB implant, Larry, you can meet the person that actually made your implant. So it's just really phenomenal. I've been on it twice, once early in my career because I lived in San Diego, and then once I joined AB a couple of years ago. And to hear the meticulousness and the thought and how careful, I mean, it's just amazing to see the process of how these devices are made, and that truthfully, you guys will probably never see them. I mean, other than, oh, I do have my demo I was gonna pass around while I was up here, because it has both the internal device and the external device. So I'm gonna just pass that around and you guys can fiddle around with it as you go, but that is, you do have the internal device
That's
in
what you
there.
have, right?
All right. Let's see the next one. Yep, the internal is in there. All right, so number 3, how many of you guys have had an MRI in your lifetime? Okay, a lot of people. And I think, you know, that is a tool that doctors use to help figure out what's going on. And what's important is that, you know, AB really believes in not interrupting that lifestyle, not interrupting those needs. And so with AB, because of the design of our magnet, you can get an MRI. And so not only can you get the MRI, but it's not like a magnet has to be removed. You can get it, put your processor back on, and continue to hear. So there's no pain, there's no hassle, and you can keep on hearing just like you did before you started the procedure. And I think this is something very important. I was talking with Larry earlier about how I recently had my annual physical, and I'm like, what is bad cholesterol? Not something I've had to think about in a while. And so, you know, as I'm getting older, my kids are getting older, you know, there's lots of things that we're thinking about, and we don't want anything to inhibit us from taking care of ourselves, living the best life, and hearing the best that we can. All right. So the fourth thing that I love about AB is our newest technology, which is the Marvel platform. And we've really come a long way. I mean, Martha showed all of the different processors that Cochlear has, and Hollis showed all the different ones that MED-EL has. We all have had a number of different processors, and it's amazing how the technology continues to advance. I mean, I even think about now, like, would we have a laptop or the ability to do Zoom and meet virtually and in person? Like, technology just keeps going. And with the Marvel processor, we also, it's ear level. We have 3 sort of pillars that we've sort of designed around the Marvel processor. So your powerful hearing experiences, we want you to hear well. We want you to hear the best you can. Universal Bluetooth connectivity. So being able to connect to anything without an intermediary device, without a clip, without a cover, any Bluetooth compatible device you can connect to. And that's so important when we're connecting with our loved ones. So that's one of the pillars of the Marvel platform. And then of course, Marvel from ear to ear. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that means, in that we want to offer a solution for everybody. So maybe you're only going to get 1 cochlear implant and you're going to wear 1 hearing aid. So that's that bimodal configuration. So you have 1 cochlear implant, 1 hearing aid. Maybe you say, that hearing aid's not doing very well anymore because my implant is doing so well. I'm gonna get a second implant. Now I'm gonna be a bilateral cochlear implant user. Or maybe you're that person that can only get one implant. Maybe you don't wear a hearing aid on the other side maybe it's not working for you. Maybe it's interfering with your cochlear implant and doing the best that it can. So then we have the cross technology. And that's basically just a microphone that's sending the signal over to the other side. And all three of these different bimodal, bilateral, or cross are solutions for you to be able to hear better. And so that's that marveled from ear to ear pillar that is part of the Marvel platform. All right. So some other benefits to the bimodal solution is that we have the only hearing aid that is compatible or working truly together with the cochlear implant. And that's because back in 2009, Sonova is our parent company, and they acquired Advanced Bionics and Phonak. But we are partnered with Phonak, and we have now got the research and the technology for them to work together. And you think, what does that really mean? Like, I'm not really sure exactly. You're talking way out there. And I do talk to a lot of audiologists, so sometimes I say things that are a little bit not understandable. But the way I look at having a true bimodal system is, have you ever gone for a walk and tried to wear a tennis shoe on one side and a high heel on the other side? I mean, you kind of be like walking around like, okay, so you're going to get to your end destination, right? But it's not that easy and it's not that comfortable. And so with both the hearing aid and the implant working together, it's going to be much more easy, much more seamless. You're going to be able to hear better, and it's going to work together to give you the best performance. So that's one of the things about the AB solutions that I love. Number 5 is staying connected. And I know all of you, don't lie, have a friend or a family member that lives more than 5 minutes from you, right? So you want to be connected somehow, whether you're FaceTiming, whether you're on the phone, like I said, Zoom, so many different ways to connect. So we have, like I mentioned before, the ability to connect to any Bluetooth compatible device. And you think any Android, Apple, Kindle, smart TV, laptop computer, any Bluetooth compatible device. And that's important, I think, because we are in this technology age. You've got YouTube and
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and all these like streaming networks, Netflix and Prime Video. You can stream all of that directly to not just your cochlear implant, but also your hearing aid at the same time and be able to hear. And if someone's watching with you, they don't have to worry about you turning the TV up really loud and, having their ears hurt just a little bit because it has to be so loud. So some really great ways of being connected with the Marvel platform. And one of the things I'm most excited about is our remote programming. And what that means is everything that could be done in the office with your audiologist can also be done in the comfort of your home. So who has done telehealth here? If you've done a telehealth appointment for anything. Yes? No? Yeah? Okay. So, I live in Charlottesville and I have 3 kids. And I'm telling you, Thursday, I had to come to Richmond twice. I came in the morning for a dentist appointment. Then I came back with my daughter for a doctor's appointment. I literally took the entire day off of work. And my son had also a telehealth, he had an appointment, but it was a doctor's appointment on a different day. And we did telehealth, and I literally drove to his school, checked him out, sat in the car for 20 minutes with him, did a telehealth visit, and he went back to school. And it was like over my lunch hour. So it was super easy as a busy mom and a professional for me to be able to provide that for him, make sure he's getting the best care just by having that telehealth solution. And that's what we have with AB. So it's not just let's check impedances or let's check your program and have you come in. You actually can sit in your car, in your house, at work, at Starbucks, and do a remote programming session with your audiologist. We just released this about a month and a half ago. So not every clinic is using it yet, but slowly but surely people are trying it. They're working it into their protocols and offering it to patients if you live more than, an hour away, you don't want to deal with parking. If you have to go through the tunnel down there in Norfolk, all these things are considerations that you have to take time out of your life, take time away. Maybe someone drives you. You have to find a ride, or if someone's in a nursing home and they can't get there. There's so many different things that I can think of that this could work. May not be for everybody, but it is an option. And we are so excited that we can offer it and that you guys can have the changes made right there in your own home. All right. The last little thing that I love about AB is our resources and our community. And you guys have got your little community here, but we're always connecting with our recipients, providing support, particularly with rehab. Now, have you guys heard about how important rehab is with your hearing instruments? So important to practice. That brain of ours, it always wants to do what's familiar, always wants to hear and listen to what's familiar. And so if you're not practicing, it's really hard to improve your performance with your either hearing aids or cochlear implant. And it's really for both hearing aids and a cochlear implant. It's important to practice listening because our brains got to figure that out. And so hearingsuccess.com, you don't have to have an AB device to use it. You don't have to have a cochlear implant to use it. If you have any hearing instrument, hearingsuccess.com has so many different resources. You can turn on noise, turn off noise. You can turn on visual cues, turn off visual cues. So no matter where you're at in your journey and your abilities, you can practice listening and improve just really how much you're going to end up using and loving your devices. So great resource. And I want to leave you with Jack's story. So we have several videos like this on our website, and I love it because it's really about the recipient. Like, we know it changes the recipient's life, right? The person who gets the implant, it changes their life, but how does it also affect their loved ones? And so this little video, it's about 4 minutes long. I'm hoping the sound is on.
This is the story of connection, the connection between a man and his family, and the true meaning of I love you through thick and thin. See how the gift of connection through sound allowed Jack to again savor precious moments at noisy Sunday dinners.
When we married nearly 49 years ago, I promised to love you through thick and thin. I became your wife, a military wife, and together we were stationed in Europe and the United States. We've always shared the same interests: our faith, music, travel, photography, swimming, gardening, bicycling, and our home decor. We were blessed with 2 beautiful children and 8 grandchildren. We've stood together through a 20-year military career and all that life has given us. We've had many triumphs and some disappointments, one such as this. We were stationed in Germany when your dream assignment was given to you. We planned on an exciting new future, and only for it to be taken away because you failed your hearing test during your physical. I know that this was very disappointing to you, as this was a once-in-a-lifetime assignment. What we didn't know was how that failed hearing test was going to play out over the years. Your hearing deteriorated to the point where you were no longer able to enjoy many of the things that we took for granted. Even the one thing that we cherished the most, our weekly family dinners, became frustrating because of how difficult it was for you to follow all the conversations that were going on with our large family that we had created. You were at the time a silent participant. I remember especially when our little 3-year-old grandson said something to you, and you told him to say it again as you didn't hear him. He quietly said, "Never mind," and walked away. I was heartbroken for you. But now, because of your hearing loss, you needed me by your side in a different way. The side of you that couldn't hear, I became your ears, your connection to your family and to your world. I became your right side, and I was happy to do it for you. There were many attempts to restore your hearing, and every time they failed, and your hearing continued to deteriorate. And you became a candidate for a cochlear implant. It was a chance to give you back what was lost, your hearing and your connection to your family. You took a leap of faith and had the surgery. It was a success. I remember the moment you were activated. I could see the light in your eyes instantly return. We both teared up when the first thing you heard me say to you was, I love you. Your life and mine is much richer with your restored hearing. I now forget that you still have a hearing impairment. I'll just chatter away at times when we're getting ready to go out somewhere, and I don't realize that you haven't put your processor on. Yeah, I take it for granted that you can hear me. But now I know what a gift your restored hearing is to you, myself, our kids, our grandchildren. Sunday dinners are still noisy, but you are an active participant. I will always be by your side, but now I can lead or follow or walk side by side with you or on any side of you. And once again, we can enjoy all the things life has given us, our family and each other. Jack, I love you, and I'm glad that you had that cochlear implant. I'm sorry that you've had to go through so many trials and tribulations with your hearing, and I hope that it continues to be what it is now.
Is he bilateral or bilateral?
He was actually unilateral. And there we go. All right. So if you guys have questions about any of this, I know all of us are here to answer afterwards, and we all have things you can take home with you and definitely connect with at a later time. So thank you so much.
Before we break into stations and I wanted to thank each of you for great presentations. And I was thinking, Pat, tell us your story and give us the short version of your story about getting cochlear implants, because it's pretty spectacular.
I got a short version. Over the years, well, I started losing my hearing close to 20 years ago. It was gradual. I had hearing aids for a while. Oh, okay. I started losing my hearing about 20 years ago gradually, and I wore hearing aids. It worked for a while until they didn't. I was diagnosed, I didn't even know what cochlear implants were. I had no clue. And I went to this appointment and they told me I was a candidate. And I said, what? You know, I had no idea. It took me 4 years because I didn't know enough people or had enough experience to figure out what the heck surgery. There's no way I want to have surgery. I can do fine. So it took me 4 years. And it was the people of supportive people that I met. Started meeting other people that had cochlear implants. I started talking more about it, and then made that scary decision to have the surgery. This was about 6 years ago. And I mean, it gave me my life back. It was, I was not isolated anymore. I was going out with friends again. I wasn't turning down conversations. I wasn't sitting there angry after everybody's laughing at a joke and what are they laughing at? You know, and I was having a new grandbaby and I wanted to be able to understand this child when they came. So I was bimodal for a while. I wore a hearing aid for balance. And I started not using my hearing aid anymore because I found it actually distorted this great sound I was getting. And so I went bilateral 2 years ago. I was at about a 20% word recognition when I had my implant. I'm 98% now.
Wow.
Yes, it literally gave me my life back. And I was tearing up at this story because my husband will say the same thing. We can talk in the car now. We can do so many things that we had given up on for so long. So I am this very passionate advocate. I guess you could say.
How much rehab did you do?
I was lucky in that I did pretty well right away. I was hearing language, but after maybe 24 hours, I was understanding language. Everything sounded like beeps and boops for a while. and very mechanical. My husband was the first one who started to sound normal, and that was after maybe a week or so. My favorite rehab was audiobooks. I would get a book from the library and get the audiobook and read along and hearing the words. And by the end of the first book, I could understand without actually reading the words. There's some apps, Angel Sounds I like. I practice that every single day for, like an hour or two. But mostly it was just getting out and talking to people. My first day back after I activated, I went home and I turned on the water and I heard beep, bop, beep, bop, bop, bop. And after I just stared at it, and eventually I started hearing and then anytime I turned on the water, I heard water sound. It never went back to the other. I did, it just immediately. So I was like this kid in the candy store, so it was pretty quick. And I know not everybody has that experience as quickly, but they get there.
Thank you. I know people will come up to me and they think because now I have an electronic ear, they think that all my hearing issues are solved. They don't realize that the brain has to adjust, and it varies from person to person. But I also listen to audiobooks. Sometimes I'll look along with the printed copy and Angel Sound and a couple, I think there's another one called Heroes that I can add sound to. I still struggle with sound and noise. So I hope the scan system is as good as they think it will be, and I'm sure that all of the companies will have something like that. It's a little scary, but I was glad I did it. So what questions do you have, or the folks online? Mindy?
Hi.
You have to unmute your
Unmute, yeah.
microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. I have AB cochlear implant that I had to bother. I've been implanted almost 14 years in the left ear, almost 13 years in the right ear. I was so deaf, I bottomed out on the audiogram. My hearing, or what the call was just one hearing, was so bad that the only thing I could hear was the roar of a jumbo jet or thunder, but it had to be the mother of thunderstorms before I could hear it. Audiologist looked at me and said, there are no hearing aids on the market for your hearing loss. It is either get a cochlear implant or don't. So, okay. I had to learn to hear all over again. I was deafened at 18 months from streptomycin. And the only hearing memory that I had was what I remember hearing with hearing aids. Hearing with cochlear implants, for me, somebody with my hearing history, is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But it is worth it. There are just some days where everything you're hearing makes absolutely no sense. Or you will not recognize what you hear. But the result is I can now understand GPS on my smartphone with Apple Maps. I don't have to look at it. I can hear the instructions. I have my Apple Watch, and it will vibrate about maybe 5 minutes before I have to make an exit turn off the interstate. And if you're in a busy metropolitan city and you're driving in 8 lanes of traffic and you have got to make your exit in split seconds, that Apple Watch really comes in handy. And that's the Bluetooth technology. The other thing that I want everybody to know is do not get hung up about scores. Whether your speech comprehension is at 98%, whether it's 60. I started out with 0. What matters is how well your cochlear implants are functioning for you. It is not a race. This isn't about being first place, whether it takes a year, 2 years, 5 years. In my left ear, I wore a hearing aid from the time I was 2.5 until 2010. The right ear, I had a hearing aid starting in my 20s. So that ear took longer. With the monitor platform, the technology is absolutely astounding because the
Andy, I just got an email from,
adapts to your hearing environment. I have to
an
worry
email
about
from Angela with the Virginia Beach
which
chapter.
slide
and
it
she
is.
had a
I don't have to worry about the
for
volume.
a
I don't have to
while.
worry about any of that stuff. All I do is just put it on and forget it. And I love listening to music. I'll have the iPhone, I'll turn on playing the music, and I'm listening to my tunes that I'm cleaning the house and just bopping along.
Thank you. Thank you, Mindy, for sharing your story. Any questions in the room?
I have a question before they break off, for all three. I work with a lot of people who are considering getting cochlear implants. They make that tough decision, either do it through groups like this, or say what club, or
we want lunch anytime soon.
Cochlear. And once they make that decision, I'm gonna get a cochlear implant.
7 minutes.
The biggest mystery they have is which manufacturer. And I think, I have a friend who just got a knee implant. Nobody asked her which manufacturer do you want. It's almost like this unique thing in the medical industry that you've got to pick your manufacturer. You're not a doctor. You're not an audiologist. Normally, we just ask our doctor, our medical people, pick the best one. And I worked with EVMS and VCU, and they will not give an opinion. They're nice to know they're not favoring one over another. So you're sitting there. I actually know people who have put off getting an implant because the pain of trying to make that decision. And listening to all three of you, yes, I'd buy any of them. You're all wonderful. And I know that all three of these will work. So my only advice would be, you can't make a bad choice. But you need to make a choice.
Yes.
Well, they're going to put something in my head. How do I make that choice? So I don't even know. It's hard to tell people where to start. I tell them why I made mine. I know people who have all three that love their implants and will fight to the death that theirs is the best. But I said, how can you tell? Because nobody can compare them unless you've had 3 implanted and 3 taken out. So I guess from my standpoint, when someone asked me that question, I'd like to know, what do you tell them? What do you say to them to decide which of the 3 wonderful companies to go with?
That's a tough question.
Good question.
That's a tough question. Now, I know Kevin struggled with it for a long time too. And y'all want to weigh in a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I think what you've been doing is great, is connecting them with each of us so that we can really talk about the patient's lifestyle and what's going to work best for them, what's most important to them, their hearing goals, and just really coming up and connecting them with other recipients who have our implants so they can share stories. But it is tough and it is a very unique situation in the medical field.
Yeah.
I think to echo that, right, the gift of giving yourself hearing is the most important thing. And I will tell people, by making this decision to get an implant, you are making the right decision. I work for Cochlear. There are a whole list of things I could list out for why Cochlear, but at the end of the day, what I really care about is that you are taking a step towards better hearing so that you can be living your life. So my advice to them is this: do connect with us. Let us share kind of what makes each of us different. And then they need to go with what is the best fit for them. Please, please alleviate the fear that you are going to get this wrong. By doing it, you are getting it right. The rest of it is just finding the right fit for you.
I couldn't say it better. 100% agree.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
You know, the first time that I went to the annual convention of the HLAA, I was just amazed at how many people there had cochlears, and a lot of them had two. I mean, it was like half the attendees. And so that sort of opened my eyes. And of course, the three cochlear companies all had major space in the exhibition hall. So I was able to talk to them. But when we break up into groups here in a few minutes, I'm sure you can get their cards or their email address. Yeah, John?
I follow a Facebook Cochlear
Planning.
group, and they talk about all the different kinds. I wear this kind, I have that kind, which I have no clue. But at times, the people posting are really struggling. And that's what tends to turn me off when I see people talk about the tinnitus. People sound like Mickey Mouse, mapping, and it sounds like a really long process. I already do audiobooks. I walk around all day I just borrow them online. I don't even go to the library. They're all in there on my phone, just carry my phone around. So that, I love that. But it just sounds so complicated. I'm not a quick learner, and I get frustrated. I live alone, so if I'm going to be having dizziness, some people talked about. I'm talking about all the negatives because that's what deters me. And the rest of the group, they're very supportive. They'll say, "Stick with it. It'll get better. It'll get better. Just stick with it." Some people, everyone's different. Everyone responds different. I'm allowed to say patient. I know that already. And I avoid surgery. Totally, and I don't want to have a magnet on my head. I'm sorry.
So
Even though I've got
you don't
plenty of
have
hair.
you don't have an implant?
No, I have 2 hearing aids.
Okay.
Can I
Which
say a few
Joe,
words?
wanna
I have
make some comments about
18%
the
voice
procedure in
recognition.
terms of,
Okay.
If
Oh, yeah,
I-
we can talk about that.
yeah,
Sorry, before you break up, can I say a few words?
yeah, but I want to get them to respond to
Okay.
the procedure. They're going to talk about the procedure, how long it is, whether or not you have to stay in the hospital overnight, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So I think, it's making the decision to have surgery is always a very difficult thing. Whether it's your hearing or something else. We are very, very lucky here in Virginia that we have some amazing surgeons. And connecting with them and asking them specific questions.
Hard questions.
Hard questions. I think you know, it's scary because there's these side effects that you read about. And I mean, sometimes, God bless social media, but sometimes it's the worst because it can scare you and you hear all the bad things. And, you know, we talk about that even in, you know, like going to a coffee shop and you have a bad experience, you're going to tell 10 people that negative thing. But do you really talk about the positives and how it changes your life? Yes, dizziness can happen. Yes, swelling and bleeding and all kinds of side effects can happen. And the surgeons will go over that. It generally is short-lived and resolves. It's very important that you follow the advice of your doctors and your audiologist and
The letter.
yes, well, and if you're
Letter.
working with a speech therapist, all of those people, like we all have been in those roles in the clinic and patients who, even though you struggle, like I like to say I'm a cheerleader, really, because I want you to do the best you can. And I'm not going to tell you to do something that's not going to help you. But ultimately, I can't come to your house and, you know, right, I can't. And that's why you have groups like this.
I'll just add one thing. Years ago, there was no idea in my mind that I was even a candidate, and I probably wasn't back then. But I used to say, if the only time I would jump on a table to be operate or get on a table was if I was a candidate for an implant, until I started reading that stuff. The other one was for a facelift.
There's two things. Oh, go ahead.
Easiest surgery I ever had.
Yeah.
I went in, my surgery was at 7. I ate lunch at home. You know, it was that quick and that easy and painless. They gave me pain pills. I took the first one and then I took a Tylenol.
That's all I took.
I didn't get a facelift, but I would.
Yeah.
That brave.
I will share two things. One is that I think we would all acknowledge there is a leap of faith in this. You can't try a cochlear implant before. That is why there is such a process to even determine, are you a candidate, right? You can't just walk in to VCU down the road and say, I'm getting a cochlear implant, sign me up for surgery. Doesn't work that way. So the question becomes not only when are you ready, but what are you losing by not doing this, right? Because it is totally normal. I would be worried about you if you didn't blink an eye at the thought of having surgery, right? That is a totally normal response. I think that it has to become on each of us to say, how much of our life have we put on hold? How many times have we not gone out with loved ones because of our hearing? And what is that in comparison to the fear we have of surgery? And only you can answer that. But medically, we can deduct to the point to say, this is the best option for you. And that's the other thing I'll share with anyone considering this. The process of getting a cochlear implant, it is just information gathering. So have the appointment with the audiologist, get the evaluation, go meet with the surgeon who can look at you, look at your medical history, really talk about what is this going to look like for you. You are losing nothing. All you are gaining is information. And at the end of the day, you make the decision that's best for your hearing. I have people who get their second side 6 months later. I have others, it's been 8 years and they're just now considering, and some may never. That's okay. You are in the driver's seat, but information's power.
I did get evaluated and I definitely need one. 18%
Yeah.
word
Kevin?
recognition in 1 year.
Kevin wants to make a few remarks. We got a question back here?
Yeah, could you speak to actually what you have to lose?
Yeah.
Like, you know, because once you get the implant, you can't hear out of that ear anymore without so, right, you know, and if you don't do the rehab correctly, are you gonna live in a world of electronic sounds for the rest of your life? What's the really worst case scenario? If you don't do the work, you know, you do it poorly,
I'm gonna start us off.
Well, I think the absolute worst case scenario is you get frustrated, you take it off, it's in a box, you're not wearing it anymore. It is an extensive testing protocol to make sure you are a candidate, because when you have that surgery, you are now going to be hearing electrically rather than that acoustic hearing traditionally. The internal devices, speaking of ours, has come a long way with the atraumatic designs. We now have the electric acoustic systems where you can preserve some of that low frequency. So it is becoming less and less of a risk of what you might lose. I think just knowing that you're now hearing differently, and instead of having whatever acoustic hearing you previously had, you may not have that anymore.
I mean, I would echo that, right? And that's where having the medical evaluation so they can speak to your particular loss is so important, because hearing preservation is a real thing, right? We're quite good at that, but it is not the reality for everyone. And so you could be all on a different spectrum. So what to lose becomes a very personal question. But that's also why going into this, the benchmark that we're saying is, with the best possible hearing aid, how are you actually doing? That's what that test measures. So we go in, again, not knowing, we're not doubting you have a hearing loss. We're saying, even with the best technology you can get non-surgically, how are you actually doing? And how much is there really to lose at the end of the day?
That's more about like the.
Put yours in the refrigerator.
Sure.
Like the.
Put yours in the refrigerator.
Of the training.
Let me
someone
get
else
out of here.
Right, like you end up with it in a box.
So
because
that
it's
is,
too hard.
no, that is a great question. And I really would rather pass that to people that have done it, because we're experts, but we didn't live that.
Right.
So
Would you repeat the question?
the question is, if the rehab process, if you get frustrated in that, if it's too difficult, what are the consequences of not doing it? And really, how does someone stay motivated really through that process? Great question.
Kevin, you want to respond to that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Sure.
Well, let me preface this, when I was considering doing the cochlear implant, I have a mountain of paperwork from all through that. And I studied it for 4 years before I actually came to making a decision. Martha knows this, I've already told her. But having a cochlear implant in my life made a lot of changes, because I wore hearing aids from the time I was about 6 to 63. And my first hearing aid was a body aid. And that changed my life. And that was not a good thing for a 6-year-old. And in response to your question, is I like to share, if you don't do the work, you don't see the progress. Because it's like learning how to walk again. You have to take the first step. If you don't take the first step, then you lose everything that you've already worked for up to that point. You know, with me, I work in a retail atmosphere, and Martha's seen me over there too. So it's a challenge for me. It's a real challenge for me working in a retail atmosphere, because I have people that talk softly, I have people that talk loudly, I have people that talk fast, I have people that have accents, I have people that turn around and walk away before they're finished their question. So all those are very annoying, but I work with. Now, with me, having a cochlear implant really changed my life, because even Dr. Coelho said when he'd gone in for the evaluation, that if I'd have waited any longer, I would have had no hearing. My hearing deteriorated from about time I was about 21 to 35. It was a straight drop. I have hearing records at home to prove that. But after I got my cochlear implant, my hearing goes up. It's not perfect. Hearing loss is like a fingerprint. There's no two exactly alike. The same thing applies to cochlear. There's no two cochlears patient's gonna be exactly alike. And it's not something you wanna take like I said, I was 4 years making a decision. And it was not an easy decision for me. Because I had to think about my lifestyle. I had to think about my work history. I had to think about what I had for my future. I used to drive trucks for a living. I did it for 22 years. And I think that was part of the reason my hearing declined. Yes, ma'am.
Do you regret making the decision?
No,
Because you said it took 4 years.
I took 4 years of constant research. I wore out 2 computers doing it. And if you don't believe you can wear out a computer, trust me, you can.
Does anybody regret getting their implant that has one?
My only regret is I didn't do it when I was first diagnosed, because that was 4 years of my life. I could have had a richer life
Okay,
than I waited.
that's fair.
so.
I wish I had done it sooner
Yeah, yeah,
than the 4 years that I looked at it.
that makes sense.
But I didn't know, it wasn't until I joined this group that it really set me on the target path of bettering my hearing, whether it be new hearing aids, whether it be a cochlear implant, whether it be the support that I get from this group, and it is a good group. I'm a past president and I've been here quite a few years, and I've seen people come and go. I've heard all kinds of stories, but ultimately, like these ladies up here said, the decision is ultimately yours. It's not a wrong decision. It's something that has to help benefit you, and only you can make that decision.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Can I
you.
ask you the one
Yeah,
question?
Jim.
My wife was diagnosed as with a profound hearing loss. We've gone through a lot of the process and we're about to take that step. But one of the concerns we have obviously is surgery, and my wife is older, and that's a concern. But, you know, from what I'm hearing, the cochlear implant it's changed lives. It really has changed lives.
Yep.
But I'm wondering of the feedback you get from the surgeons. What's like the success rate? Now, obviously, there's a spectrum of hearing gain as a result of this, from, you know, mediocre to great or whatever it might be. But is there situations, is it a 98% success rate, or is it 58% or whatever? Is there any statistic like that?
I'll let you all answer this.
Not.
I think it depends on how you define success.
Sure.
Because we can't, I mean, I don't think any of us have numbers that say this is 100% or this is 50%. Like, there's really no way. And if you're talking about medical, like, surgeons take extra care to make sure that if you're going on their table, things are gonna, like, if there's any ounce of thought that something's not gonna go well, they're not gonna do it.
No.
So I think that that's, you know, with any surgery, but even with a cochlear implant, that you can rest assured that that's taken care of. I know that over the years, it's become much easier. It's become much quicker. VCU is actually doing them awake for some people that can't go under anesthesia, which to me is amazing. It's not for everybody, but it is possible. And we wouldn't have thought that 20 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, these surgeons are amazing and you are in good hands.
Martha, Hollis, you want to weigh in?
Yeah,
on that?
I mean, I would echo this. Centers tend to keep their own data, so it's a great question to talk with your team about and ask that, because, you know, we can all provide anecdotally.
Yeah.
I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people through this. I've never had anyone it didn't work for. Have I had that small handful that their hearing loss and what was individual to them was so severe that they were on a longer path to success? Absolutely. But they knew that going in, right? Those come in the conversations with the professionals.
I know that Dr. Coelho told me that he has performed the surgery on some some people in their nineties.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah,
If they were in good health otherwise,
hundreds.
and they've
Yeah,
done them
they're
as young as
hundreds.
probably 2 or 3 years old.
Oh, not, we're,
Even younger.
so 9 months is the
months.
indication.
What's
The,
that?
the federal indication is 9 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and we've gone over 100.
Yep.
So
What's the 9 months? What was that?
the youngest that
Oh,
The
okay.
federally you
approved.
can,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
approved for.
My surgery was scheduled for 5:45 AM on March 21st, 2021. I was in my hospital room at 7:30. And it took, they slotted the time for 95 minutes in the operating room, but they only took 63. So that, but Dr. Coelho, he said himself, it was one of the easiest ones he'd done. And I don't know why, but that's the truth. It didn't take long for me to do it. Now I spent the night in the hospital because I was in the middle of COVID.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it was recommended that I spend the night at the hospital, but you know, I had the option whether I wanted to or not. I could have gone home at noon if I wanted to, but I didn't. I wanted to make sure that all my ducks were in a row for this surgery.
I was gonna address James's question earlier about, you know, that fear of you have it done and you're worse off. If you're not following everything. I think I had a lot of residual hearing. That was another reason I was reluctant, because I could hear the dog bark. I could hear, you know, the things going on around my house. I just couldn't understand language. It was sensorineural hearing loss. So that was a stopping part for me. What if I lose all this? Well, with my first one, I did have some residual hearing left for a while. It's gone away now. And I had residual hearing in my other ears, so I could still hear somewhat. With my second one, I am now take my processors off. I'm stone deaf, which I was scared of that. Weird thing is, I actually love the choice of silence. People around me, I was on an airplane ride not too long ago, and the babies were crying, and I was fine. You know, I took these off and I was fine. I can sleep through anything. I sleep better than I ever had. I thought that would be scary, but I absolutely love the choice of silence. I told my husband, I don't know if I enjoy more taking them off to silence and reading in silence and taking a shower in silence, or putting them on and getting the gift of hearing in the morning when I need it. So I was scared of that, but I ended up being a blessing. You know, it's great with an argument with a significant other.
That's the one I get.
Done, like mic drop. Yeah.
That's the one thing you can do with a hearing aid. Is when you get ready to take a shower, you know you're not supposed to have your hearing aid a Cochlear on, you can always hear the water.
Well, I think it's about time we're gonna break into some stations for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. If you want to talk to Alyson, Martha, or Hollis, or get their contact information, just a couple of chapter notes. Our meeting in February, we're gonna have an advocate from the Disability Law Center talk about the Americans with Disability Act and accessibility and how it affects people with hearing loss. And I hope you'll continue to come to our meetings, and this was supposedly recorded, so I'll put out an email to tell you where you can get it. There were some questions on the chat that I looked at quickly. I think they were relatively similar to some of the questions that came up in here. Y'all have any final remarks?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious, let's all of us come back 12 months from now, and let's see if we see some new cochlear.
There we go.
implants.
Love it.
I like that idea.
Sounds like a plan.
But thank you for coming, and I wish you well in your journey.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the people on Zoom, I'm gonna stop the meeting because I don't know how to do the station, have Zoom cover that. So I'm gonna end the meeting for the people on Zoom. And, I know I didn't run the Zoom exactly like I should have, but I apologize for that.
Question,
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
There is some coffee
Obviously, I
cake.
have a problem, but I don't know what is step one.
Let's
What
put-
am I supposed to do?
Let's put Martha down there in that room
I'll get
over
you.
there.
I got you.
Hollis, why don't you go back
On the
here?
couch?
And why don't you
I'll
stay
stay right
right,
here.
right there or right in front of those chairs?
Thank you so much for coming. It really, really hard to have me feel better about. I do.
Other side is to rest of the stuff. If you heard of sticks.
Still
have this.
Okay, yep, yep.
And yeah.
Oh, yes, see, I'm up more towards the airport.
Oh,
okay. So I haven't.
Like it's like Mediterranean style. Like,
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up.